Released around the time of the iPhone 4 in 2010, the 4th generation iPod Touch offered the great performance and beautiful Retina display of the iPhone for those who didn't actually need a phone. Hey, how's it going? I'm Josh from 91 Tech, and today we're going to be taking a look at the iPod Touch 4th generation. This thing was super popular and mind-blowingly awesome 8 years ago, but how does it hold up in 2018? This video was actually really requested, which, not gonna lie, that actually kinda surprised me. But we're finally getting to it, and so I hope you all enjoy. If you want sneak peeks into what I'm up to, or you just want to see and talk some tech, maybe go follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, direct links of course in the description. So first things first, you'll probably notice the display on this device is completely destroyed. I didn't do that, I bought it this way. It was only about $5 or something, and considering I'm not really planning on using it, I thought it would be fine. However, I do apologize for the not as good looking B-roll as a result. I would consider fixing it, but I'm not sure that it's really worth it. This is only like an 8GB model, and I don't especially see the point. Besides the cracked screen, this device is actually fully functional, other than the power button that seems to be jammed. Otherwise, the home button feels good, the touchscreen functions, the camera works, it charges properly, and all in all, this is completely usable, just in terrible cosmetic condition. So again, sorry about that, but that's what we're dealing with here today. Now, if you're like me, you could never afford one of these back in the day when you actually wanted one. I knew a ton of kids who had them, but at the around $200 price tag, it was always too much for me to own. And of course, I was a kid, I just didn't have money to spend on an iPod, right? I had lots of friends who owned them, and I was always a bit jealous. And as far as how they've held up over the years, you might actually be surprised. Firstly, the design is classic and not something we see anymore. Modern iPods, while still being sold, look completely different in all aluminum casings and a much more squarish look. This stark contrast to the rounded iPod Touches of old with their easily scratched but still good looking stainless steel backing is definitely noticeable. These things definitely look their age as far as design goes, but I still personally really like it, and you definitely can't find Apple selling anything like this new anymore, so it's pretty cool. The form factor doesn't leave much to be desired. It's very light and thin and slips nearly anywhere with relative ease. This is actually a great size for a music player and would totally work for you in your car or whatever, assuming that you can get one that still has a decent battery. Battery life is an Apple estimated 40 hours of playback for music and 7 hours of playback for video, although in all honesty you'll never probably get that much, especially considering that these things are all old at this point, and with use comes battery degradation. You'd be lucky to get a day out of the 930 milliamp hour battery unless somehow you still have a device with a decent battery. When it comes to the display, this was probably the biggest improvement over the last generation iPod Touch, along with the thinner form factor and camera additions. It has Apple's Retina display, which looks so good even on this destroyed screen, which is sized at 3.5 inches. If you want specific numbers, it actually has a resolution of 640 by 960 and a pixel density of 326 pixels per inch. Again, it looks good. It's crisp, it's clean, and you can't see any pixels, which is what you want from any device. While the screen is a bit small for my liking, iPods are supposed to be portable, and so I'm definitely not going to give it any faults for that. The camera is there. It isn't good, but at least it has one, much to the joy of kids who were lucky enough to score an iPod back in the day. And yes, I am a bit salty I never got one when I was younger, but anyways, the rear camera comes in at 0.7 megapixels, and somehow the ability to shoot 720p? I definitely wouldn't call it that, but hey, that's what they're saying here, so okay. It also has a VGA quality front-facing camera, which is a nice way of saying hot garbage. And it's, you know what, I'm just gonna let you judge it for yourself. This right now is being filmed on the iPod Touch 4th generation, and it's just bad. It's pretty bad. Let's be real. Like the iPhone 4, the iPod Touch 4th Gen is powered by an Apple A4 processor, but it only has 256 megabytes of RAM rather than 512 megabytes. It runs up to iOS 6.1.6 and actually performs pretty well. The low amount of RAM is definitely throttling it, but I'd say that it still feels pretty good and probably faster than my iPhone 3GS. It can perform basic tasks with relative ease. Music playback, for example, as this is an iPod after all, is totally fine. When it comes to games and stuff, unless you're playing a really old one like Temple Run, you're probably going to have trouble, not only with speed, but more with support. With iOS 6, you are unable to download the vast majority of apps today, although you can still download their latest compatible versions if they were ever on iOS 6. So technically, you can browse Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube from your iPod Touch 4th generation. Not that you should, but it does technically work. A lot of these apps have issues, like with Instagram, a lot of pictures are cut off and you can't see the stories, but again, at least it does somewhat work. Again, daily life, if you only do the bare minimum, isn't too bad. That said, there's really no reason to have one of these in 2018 unless you just need a music player. Internet browsing is slow, the camera is terrible, and just overall, as cool as it isn't especially useful anymore. You can jailbreak it, which is something, but again, honestly, like, what are you gonna do with that? I mean, it's cool to play around with, but I can't see the practical use personally. So unless you're really wanting one for your collection or you just really need a music player, then I would never recommend buying one of these in 2018. That said, the iPod Touch 4th generation will always hold a special place in a lot of people's hearts. This thing was great for the time, and honestly, it holds up a lot better today than I expected it to. And on that note, I think that's the end of this video. Did you ever have an iPod Touch? Did you ever want one? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, I really do appreciate it. A lot of you wanted this video, so I hope it lived up to expectations. Maybe leave a like if you enjoyed it, and consider subscribing for more content just like this. You can follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, links below, and with that all being said, I'm Josh from 91 Tech, and I will see you all next time.